Do do do, theme song. Do do do, I'm broke so this is my theme song. Do do do, just imagine this is an awesome theme song. Do do, theme song. Left of the box. Hello, welcome to Left of the Box. Bonjour, bienvenue. I'm Sandy. I was just about to get started, but then Lanier, he gets into these moods where he desperately wants to be on me, and he won't just sit still. He's like climbing all over the place, so I have to kick him off, and then he went and sliced my wrist open. So I had to take care of that, get some rubbing alcohol on it and stuff before I started stream there. And I had a really nice bracelet on that I was going to wear that I can't wear now because it would rub right on it. But I'll show you the bracelet. See? Nice big bracelet that I was going to be wearing. Oh well. I love him to pieces. He's a cute cat, but I'll be glad when he's no longer a kitten. Well, welcome everyone. It's a bit of a late start than I had been planning, but then it ended up being earlier than I thought it would be. I was just visiting a friend for some cheese and crackers type thing, a neighbor. And yeah, I wanted to still get to a live stream because I still have lots of news that I want to cover. And I know it's Christmas Eve and a lot of people are busy, but then I also know a lot of people aren't. And this time of year can get pretty lonely, especially when all of our regular programming takes a vacation. So I wanted to be sure to still do something and be there for the people who need the distraction. So we're going to go over some stuff. Now I already have a bunch of people in the chat. It's great to see you all. Wasn't really expecting many people out tonight, so we'll see how it goes. But we have Soul Life and Emergency Remedial Truth and Christy Zed and Tyler and Coffee is Necessary Now. Says, I miss you on TYT Rebel HQ. It's not the same. Oh, thank you. Despite everything I wrote or I said in the video about it, I still very much liked working there. I liked the interaction that I could have with it, like in the comment section, and just the reach I had and all that sort of stuff was great. And people contacting me, behind the scenes, thanking me for what I was doing. So Christy Zed, this is the kind of top I'm wearing today. I wore this once when I went to see my grandmother in the nursing home. And she's looking at me like, is that supposed to be like air conditioning? She couldn't understand why these parts were cut out of the shirt, and she was wondering if I did it to myself or if it was a mistake, or she didn't get the whole show the shoulder thing. Coffee is necessary now. Petition for you to return to TYT. That's complicated. Like, even if they wanted me back, they're everything would have to be addressed. Like the whole anti-trans stuff that they went on and all of that would have to get addressed on air before I would ever consider going back to TYT. Like right now I'd be more interested in being like a regular on a show like The Majority Report. Just putting it out there. Something, well, I've said it many times on this show, that I would love to start a version of The Majority Report, but for Canadians. Uh, have Canadian specialists and experts on for the first half and then cover primarily Canadian news in the second half type thing. And yeah, that would be, that's like my ultimate goal right now, among other ultimate goals that I have right now. Whoops. Chrissy Zed, I'm having a worse week on top of everything. My daughter's cat died completely unexpectedly of cancer yesterday. She's beside herself. Her grandmother died a year ago. Tomorrow. So I'm sorry to hear that. I understand. Only a couple of cats that I've had in my life, kind of their life ended before I even knew it was happening type thing. And yeah, it's never easy, especially when it's a time like this around Christmas where there's all that talk of family and being together. And for some people, it's very lonely. So to have your pets with you for this time really helps. And to lose one right around now, yeah, I can't imagine how devastating that would be. Mary Melodies fan, hello back to you. Nice to see you out. Soul Life, oh my god, Fox had a meltdown over the Nutcracker. They found a baby in a tree in Tennessee after a tornado. What? Okay. I don't know anything about that story. I might have to look that up. Baby and tree? Would that get me a headline? Let's see. Huh? Yeah. Let's see if there's just a. Got BBC, NBC. Baby found alive in tree after Tennessee tornado. And from the 15th of December, a 4-month-old baby has been found alive by the grace of God, his parents said after a child was sucked up into a tornado in Tennessee. So this happened in December? Like, are we talking about a recent story here? And I'm saying this because, well, let's see. The couple said the deadly tornado on Saturday, okay, so I guess it was in December, tore apart their mobile home, picking up a bassinet with a baby still inside of it. He survived and was discovered in a fallen tree in the pouring rain. The baby, his 1-year-old brother, and parents only suffered minor cuts and bruises. As the tornado approached, the mother of 22-year-old Cindy Moore said the roof of their mobile home was ripped off. The tip of the tornado came down and picked up the bassinet with my baby, Lord, in it. Miss Moore told local news station. He was the first thing to go up. Her boyfriend, the boy's father, lunged to protect Lord. Oh, that's the baby's name, okay. I thought she was like, oh Lord. But no, that's the baby's name. And the bassinet, but ended up getting picked up by the tornado too. He was just holding onto the bassinet the whole time and they went into circles, he said, until they got thrown, Miss Moore said. As that was happening, Miss Moore grabbed a 1-year-old son, Princeton. Something in me just told to run up and jump on top of my son, said Moore. Literally the moment I jumped on him, the walls collapsed. Okay. They've set up a GoFundMe, it looks like, to help with the disasters and stuff. So she says, I thought he was dead. I was pretty sure he was dead and we weren't going to find him. But he's here, and that's by the grace of God. Wow. Okay, the reason why I was really confused when trying to figure out December a tornado in Tennessee in December. Yeah, that's climate change for you. That's not typically tornado season. That's usually a lot earlier in the year. The idea of getting a tornado this time of year. Wow. But that's something that's been blowing my mind. Like, we might hit double digits in my area of Canada, which for December is way, way above normal. And it's just very disturbing because it means that things that we used to be able to predict season wise, like tornadoes and hurricane season and fire season, as they say, it's not going to be anything we know anymore. It's going to be very all over the place. And here comes the little brat who sliced my wrist open, wanting attention. Like, we don't even have regular seasons anymore. They're kind of just all over the place. And so we used to think that we'd be in safe zones or safe times of years for certain types of disasters, and that's just not happening anymore. Like, they say fire season now is year round, pretty much. Like, there was a grass fire in Alberta just a couple weeks ago. I covered it on my live stream. So really all over the place. Yes, Lanier. Oh, brat. Sliced my wrist open. Oh. Let's see. Oh, I will see if I can find box nut crack. No. I'd probably, yeah, I need more of a direct link, I think, for that one. Fox News? Oh, there was the dance that they were getting all kind of upset about. I saw that dance on Twitter because, what was it? Jill Biden was sharing it or something like that. I thought it was a very fun dance. It looked like a lot of fun. Because there's Jill Biden mocked for bizarre White House nutcracker video. It wasn't bizarre. Oh, but that's here. Yeah, so Jill Biden mocked for a bizarre White House nutcracker video. But I saw that video that she tweeted out, and it looked like a lovely dance, and people were smiling and having fun, and very talented dancers. Yeah, maybe we'll go over this. I have just like I just have like a few kind of sort of tangentially Christmas related stuff. And that reminds me, I need to plug in my headphones so you guys don't get an echo when I'm playing audio. But it's hard to do that when I have a cat on my lap. Ah. He's not making this easy for me. Ooh. There we go. He's still on my lap. Okay. We might go over that video. I just have like a couple sort of Christmas related things I wanted to go over. I was hoping not to have this live stream be too long or too tense. Like, there's going to be a couple stories, of course, that are a little bit more, the world is a horrible place and we wish it could be better. Just trying to catch up with the chat. Yes, Soul Life. Itchy cat scratches suck. This one isn't itchy, but he did it like right before I was about to go live. So I just, dumped a whole bunch of rubbing alcohol on it because cat scratches can be very dangerous because, well, think about it. They put their paws in the litter bin all the time and stuff, and just the stuff that can get caught under their nails and stuff, and then, ugh. Christy said, I'll celebrate Christmas next year when Palestinians can too. Yeah, I heard it's pretty much, Bethlehem, the ideal place when you think of Christmas. It's pretty much put Christmas on hold this year because of all the horror that's happening over there. Oh, hello, Morbius Dragon, and I hope Environmental Coffee House. I hope I'm getting everyone. My dogs are goth. I hate the thought of like starting to read people's names and then I miss someone. That would upset me. Karen Bass, MB K, and I will stop reading names individually at this point, but I welcome all of you. It's great to see you all out. I wasn't expecting too many people out today. Yes, BKK, cat scratch fever is real. That's why I made sure to dump the rubbing alcohol on it right away. In a very tender spot because I was going to be wearing this very pretty bracelet, but it'd be rubbing right on the scratch, so I can't do that. Okay. Soul Life, Karen, they also said the dance was the left perpetuating racism. LOL. That dance looked awesome. In fact, I might look for Jill Biden's tweet about it and show that. Oh, wait a sec. Copyright. I might be able to show it with no audio, which kind of sucks because it's tap dancing. And so it always, you hear it and it sounds great because the extra little clackety clack of the tap shoes. So I might show a bit of it, but unfortunately it'll have to be without audio because, yeah, whole copyright issues. Okay. Yes, Soul Life. A lot of our regular programming is on hold because of the holidays. And that's why I felt it was super important that I actually get on here and do some stuff because, not everyone has the same cycle of holidays as everyone else. And some people are lonely and, we are building a community here, a leftist community here online. And, I want to be able to support people. Like, I'm fortunate that, I got to see a friend this evening. I can't really say necessarily if I'm fortunate I'm going to see family tomorrow. It depends. You'll have to check in with me afterwards. But there will be food, so there's that. Whereas there has been lots of years where no friends, no family, just me on my own for a week. And it gets very lonely because all my friends, my cat is are busy with their family and stuff, and then I'm left all alone and oh, Lanier. Luckily, Lanier seems to have gotten over his cold, which is good and bad. It's good that he's no longer sick, but now his energy has returned and he's being a real pain in the boob right now. Abernathy's eye is getting much better, so the antibiotics worked because he also got the virus, but his eye also got really red and irritated, but it seems to be clearing up. And the food that I got from the vet, it's the first time I've seen Frodo eat significant amounts regularly in months. So I'm hoping that all three of them just kind of stand the mend. But anyway, why don't we actually get to some news or something? Because I keep on getting distracted by chat, but I'm planning on doing a live stream tomorrow where that's pretty much all it's going to be is just chat. I'm still considering, I haven't decided fully yet if it's going to be a call-in show like the Letter Hack does, setting up StreamYards and stuff. I'll see how I feel then because it all depends on how the family lunch goes. And I'm not too sure when that will start. It could be as early as 4 or as late as 7. It all depends on when I get back into town and kind of decompress a bit. Lanier is trying to eat me right now. Yes, sweetie. Do you just want to come up on camera here? Come on. Ugh. He loves getting up on my shoulders though, and then he gets tangled up in my hair, and he also, whenever I bend over, he jumps on my back, which just gets annoying, and he has so much energy, but he's so cute. Aren't you? You're just so cute. Yes. But I'm at work, sweetie. I'm at work. Okay. Just don't. There we go. Okay. Okay. Why don't we actually start getting into some of this? So, unfortunately, I am covering the news, and so a lot of this isn't great stuff to cover. It can be kind of depressing, and I'm just, I'm weighing the pros and the cons of it as to how much I actually want to do right now, because I know people are in a sensitive place and covering some stories might actually be difficult. So I'm just kind of looking at the screen, reevaluating what I was just about to go to. Because I was going to talk about some healthcare issues and people being denied services and here in Canada and how horrible that was. I don't know if I want to cover that right now. Get your paw off my... Yes. Come on. Yes, ow. Come on, sweetie. Do I have to kick you right out of the room? So I don't think I'll cover this healthcare one right now. Because like I said, it's a bit upsetting. Most of these are upsetting. Let's see. I did have some stuff on Gaza that I wanted to cover. But let's see. Because like I said, I usually try to stay away from the worst of it. Sure. Let's do this one. Doug Ford being an idiot, which is, pretty much to be expected with him. So he's celebrating Hanukkah with Toronto's Jewish community in Ontario. Premier Doug... Okay, you gotta get out of here. Go. No, you can't eat those. Go on. Out. Out. Go on. Okay. So, he was talking in front of a crowd, and he said some really... Well, we'll hear what he says. Yeah, I'm so prepared for this and so organized. Got untangled my headphones, and yeah, it's one of those days, huh? Let's go here. Let's make it bigger, and let's go back here. And no, actually, that doesn't look good that way. We'll just go this way. Okay, we'll go this way.
Go off script here. I just can't help myself. I wish all other parties and leaders of all political stripes, make no mistake about it, I'm sick and tired of watching them sit on the fence. They're more worried about votes than doing the right thing.
Yeah, he says they're more worried about votes. Like he isn't. Like that isn't his whole thing. That he isn't pandering to the audience in every way he knows possible.
We have to send a clear message to all levels of government, including all parties in the federal government, that they have one choice to make sure they support good versus evil. We support good.
Yeah, that conflict is not as easy to describe as good versus evil. And, some people's evil is another person's good and vice versa. And having our political leaders talk about it that way, it's not helpful to anyone. It's destructive. It's harmful. It paints you know, Palestinians just trying to survive as evil at this point. Because some of the headlines that still bug me right now are ones where it's like, oh yeah, the IDF was going door to door and ran into some Hamas and there was some fighting and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, I don't know how accurate that is versus it's just people trying to defend their homes, trying not to get kicked out. But the way it's worded is just always so biased. It's disgusting that they're still doing this. Luckily, not everyone is falling for it this time because we can see for ourselves what's happening over there a lot of the time with the footage that's coming out from people who are actually living there and can show us the video footage. But on a note with that, yeah, let's quickly go back. It's still hard to know what's happening over there. And I know there's recently been one really horrific story come out, and I'm not even going to describe it, it's so horrific, but it has to do with pregnant people trying to get to a hospital. I have a hard time. Okay, I get the same feeling about that story as I did about the story of Hamas beheading babies and gang sexually assaulting people. It sounds too specifically graphic, like it's designed exactly to make it as horrific as possible. Keep in mind, it's not necessarily wrong either because it has been, there is a precedent for it. We have seen that type of action with a bulldozer before. There was a story like from 5 years ago. A young woman uh, was killed that way. So it is possible, just like I said, I don't run it past Hamas to do those horrible things. I don't run it past the IDF to do this, but it's I would take a breath and take it with a big grain of salt right now. That particular story, it just sounds, I just get that same feeling that it's, and that could just be me hoping, wishing, I don't know. I just, until there's actual proof of that exact incident, I would say try not to. Yeah, I just have a hard time believing that happened. Not saying it didn't. It's just I'd like to live in a world where that's not a thing. um, oh, thank you so much, Yasuk. Sorry if I got that wrong. For the $10. I really appreciate it. I'm horrible with names though, so please forgive me if I got your name wrong. Um, but super appreciate it. Let's go to this. Yeah. So in times of war, just all stories until there's actual proof of something coming out, then it's hard to say one way or another what's happening, especially with our governments being the way that they are and not giving us full truths either, or painting one side as being, the aggressor all the time, being the evil, the terrorist, and doing all that, while, constantly giving excuses and leeway to the other side, who, in this case, are the more aggressive ones. So, what am I talking about? Justin Trudeau, our prime minister, uh, so he reiterated Canada's support for Israel's right to defend itself in accordance with international law. Keep in mind, Israel, the government of Israel, has been breaking that international law quite a bit recently. Quite a bit. And I don't see any mention of that. I also stress the importance of protecting civilians and ensuring safe and unimpeded access to humanitarian aid for civilians in Gaza. Well, you know what we could do about that? Maybe not send them weapons. Maybe not send them money. We can do that here in Canada because we send them a lot of that stuff that they then use on those civilians that you're so concerned about. This prime minister of ours and his performative I expressed our support for urgent efforts towards a sustainable ceasefire. At least he's using that word now, underscoring that this cannot be one-sided. Hamas must stop using civilians as human shields, lay down its arms, and can play no role in future governments in Gaza. Hamas, at this particular point, is not the problem, because there has been, what is it? Here, breaking. Israeli minister says that even if the hostages were returned, the war would not end. Israel is definitely the ones that are at fault here right now. They're the ones that they are aggressors. They're the ones that are keeping this conflict going. And it's so disheartening still to see Justin Trudeau kowtow to whatever the Israeli government says, and still tries to use Hamas as a shield against his policies, against the fact that we're sending them money and weapons and stuff that are then used on those civilians. But let's see this little readout of his. So these statements come out a fair bit, and this one is just from the 22nd, and they're always worded so precisely. And something that a lot of Canadians don't actually look at and stuff, but I find that they can be very useful at times. I've read some others where it shows a lot of the biases of the government. I haven't read this one yet, so maybe I'm completely wrong. And he says, you know what? What the Israeli government is doing is absolutely wrong and it needs to stop because they are violating international law and human rights. And so we're going to stop sending arms and money to them. This statement might say that. I haven't read it yet, so I'm going in with an open mind. Yeah. Okay, so this is from the Prime Minister's office. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau speaks with Israel War Cabinet member Minister Benny, is it Gantz? Gantz? Benny. I'll just go with Benny. Today, Prime Minister, okay, I don't need to repeat that. Prime Minister Trudeau reiterated Canada's support for Israel's right to defend itself in accordance with international law, including international humanitarian law. Okay, so the hospitals have been bombed. The water and electricity have been cut off. They are being, Israel is cutting off food supplies and everything to people in Gaza. So what part of that is Israel defending itself? And what part of that is in accordance with international and humanitarian law? The indiscriminate bombing, the targeting of media, the targeting of civilians. Like, more reporters have died in this conflict than, and purposely targeted in this conflict than any other that I can think of. You know, children losing all their parents, no more health care available. Like, what part of this is just Israel defending itself? You know, flooding all the tunnels with salt water so that ground won't be good for growing or farming, or their water supply being absolutely destroyed, what little water supply they had. What part exactly of that is in accordance with that international law? He unequivocally condemned Hamas, its brutal terrorist attack against Israel, and its unacceptable treatment of hostages. Okay, again, take everything with a big grain of salt here. Do I trust that the hostages that Hamas took were treated as well as the media kind of indicates that they have been? Like some of them shaking hands, hugging, I think one left with her puppy or something like that. Not necessarily, because they still have loved ones that are being held captive, so they might be putting on a good show. But at the same time, physically wise, they seem to be healthy. Like, they don't seem to be beaten up. They don't seem to have been starved. In fact, I've heard of more hostages being killed by the IDF than by Hamas. So what part of this is its unacceptable treatment of hostages? Like, no, there shouldn't be hostages. Also, Israel shouldn't have hundreds, is it thousands, of Palestinians wrongfully imprisoned, just behind bars for made up reasons. That shouldn't be happening either. That's unacceptable. And yes, it was a brutal terrorist attack that happened. You know, October 7th feels like a lifetime ago when it comes to this conflict. Like it happened on another plane of existence at this point. Over 20,000 people now that the IDF, the Israeli government, is responsible for. That's brutal. I'd say that's a brutal attack. I'd say they're using terrorist tactics. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau stressed the importance of protection of civilians and ensuring safe and unimpeded access to life-saving humanitarian aid for civilians in Gaza. Yeah, that is important. So talk to your buddy there and say you should be allowing this, you know. Justin, talk to Benny there and say, you know, you should be laying this food and stuff get in, this water, medical supplies. You should be doing that. The Prime Minister called for continued significant humanitarian pauses, expressed support for urgent international efforts towards a sustainable ceasefire. At least he's using that word now, underscoring that this cannot be one-sided. Yes, Israel needs to stop what it's doing because it is very one-sided in its attacks right now. It is just Israel bombing the hell out of Gaza. That's what it is. It's Israel indiscriminately killing. Because there have been reports that I have seen verified by the UN of rounding up all the men in a group and executing them in front of the family. That needs to stop. There are hostages. Hamas had hostages waving white flags trying to escape, and the IDF shot them. That needs to stop. Like all of that, it is very one-sided what's happening right now. So, Hamas must stop using civilians as human shields, lay down its arms, and can play no role in future governments of Gaza. Okay, we don't get to tell Gaza how to run itself when this is all over. Also, what is a human shield at this point in this conflict? Is there even such a thing? Because that would indicate that these shields prevent Hamas from being targeted and attacked, or to prevent some of the aggression from Israel. And that hasn't happened. Israel has just been plowing right through those human shields without any consideration for the people that they are killing. And again, we're talking about an area that's so densely populated and stuff. Everywhere has civilians. There is nowhere to function without civilians there. But when the IDF targets refugee camps and then uses the excuse, well, there might have been a Hamas fighter there, or they target a hospital and say, but there was Hamas underneath. There was a base of operations there, although it was proven afterwards that no, there wasn't. And even if it was, that doesn't justify bombing a hospital. Yeah, must lay down their arms. Like, what arms does Hamas have at this point? Like, where are the attacks from Hamas happening? Again, anything that's happening within Gaza when it comes to the conflicts that they say happen from door to door or something like that, as far as I know, those could just be civilians trying to protect their homes, trying not to be taken out of their homes. We don't know. The Prime Minister and Minister discussed the Middle East peace process and the importance of continuing to work towards a lasting peace in the region. They reaffirmed the strong bond between Israel and Canada, and agreed to remain in contact as the situation continues to evolve. So nowhere are they saying, indicating towards the horrors of what the IDF, what the Israeli government is doing. They're not saying there's no mention of the over 20,000 people who have died, most of them being children and women, civilians. There's no mention of that. There's no mention of the IDF needs to stop its attacks right now. There's no mention that the water needs to be turned on, the electricity needs to be turned on. None of that is happening. And yeah, our government just does whatever it's told, really. When it comes to having independent stances on things, the Canadian government isn't very well known for making its mark, because even in situations where we think it happened, it doesn't necessarily happen. Like when the United States went into Iraq, Canada said, we're not going to go to war with Iraq with you guys. And, at the time, I remember being very happy about that, because I thought it was a bad idea and I didn't want to go. And I was so glad when our prime minister said, we will not support that. Only it turns out we did. Behind the scenes, we gave lots of money and we had specialists on the ground. We didn't send troops. We didn't send weapons specifically for that, but we were involved. It just wasn't as public. Let's see. But there is this run. If you're still on the hostile fart sauna known as Twitter, you can go follow Matt Lieb. He's been doing great commentary, very sarcastic, passive-aggressive commentary about everything that has been happening. And it's been really interesting. But here we have an IDF soldier in a teenage girl's room in Gaza, opens her iPads and sees who her hero is, whose photo she chose for its wallpaper. Wait for it. Okay. So we have here a room that looks like it's, full of dust and debris and things all scattered about. And we see kind of a torn up case of an iPad here. And then the soldier, wow, look at that. That is one shiny screen there. Look at that. That is super shiny, like polished, clean. Huh. I guess that's a really good iPad case to keep all that damage away from it. And let's see. Oh, there's power on it. Oh, wow. Okay, so it has, it's fully powered up there in a place with no electricity. But, this iPad is so important to the person that they never use it and keep it fully charged, because even when it's not in use, it can still lose some of that charge. But, they make sure out of all the necessities that this iPad is fully charged and clean. Look at that. Oh, so it's a picture of Hitler on there and not, ugh. Yeah, that's every teenage girl's dream. This is so obviously fake and staged. I don't even understand how anyone can take this seriously. How can anyone believe that this actually happened? Because, this might be news to the IDF and to the Israeli government, but Hitler wasn't so keen on Palestinians either. He would have wiped them out if he could have too, But it's like the other time they found the copy of Mein Kampf with notes and everything, and I was pretty sure that those notes written in there, the ink was still wet, because that book was again in pristine condition with all this destruction and horror around. Come on. In a way, I'm glad that their propaganda is so obviously fake, because how can you possibly believe any of this? But at the same time, with all the money, especially with all the money that we're sending there, I would hope that they could at least spend it better. Do better propaganda, do things that might even be believable. But nope, nope, they go for this way over the top stuff. And just, yeah, the idea of IDF soldiers sifting through the ruins of a Palestinian teenage girl's room. Kind of also disturbing in its own right. And just, like, does anyone really believe that? I just, because I can't read this, I don't know. But this person says, wait for it in such a way like you'll be shocked to see what this actual iPad has as wallpaper. Well, she is a blue check, so anything is possible. But at least some people are saying, yeah, even this blue check, do you know how ridiculous this is? So even some blue checks are like, yeah, this seems a little out of place. Yeah, it's pretty bad with even the blue checks are like, this is fake. Here, let's go to pro-Palestinian demonstrators stage protests inside the Eaton Center. So this is here in Toronto, and this was just yesterday, so that's good to see at least. So Toronto Eaton Center, it's like one of the main malls in the downtown area. Well known, usually has like a super big obnoxious Christmas tree in the middle of it. But it's quite the tourist destination spot, and it's good to see that even now, when there's almost a worry that the attention will die down, that the pressure will loosen up because everyone wants to go home for the holidays and not think about this for the holidays, it's really good to see this still happening, that we still have people out there protesting what is happening. Volume because I can't hear what's going on because I don't have my earphone in. But yeah, pro-Palestinian protesters stage sit-in at Eaton Center. The group could be heard chanting while you're shopping, bombs are dropping, as Christmas shoppers mingled about, some jeering the protesters from above before a large police presence ushered them out of the mall onto Yonge Street without incident. Yeah, that's actually pretty poignant phrase that they got there. While you're shopping, bombs are dropping. Earlier in the day, a march organized by the Palestinian Youth Movement drew a large group of demonstrators near Young Dundas Square, echoing a theme of no Christmas as usual. The group continued their call for a ceasefire in the Israel-Hamas war in Gaza. War is a very strong word at this point because that would indicate that maybe two sides are fighting back and forth, which is not the case. And, the brief little pause in violence that we had saw some exchange of hostages and stuff. And as the other message indicated, like even if all the hostages were returned, Israel wouldn't stop this war. So can you really call it a war at this point? When it's so one-sided, and one-sided in not in the same context as what Justin Trudeau says. Saturday night's protest was in sharp contrast to one that took place last weekend when a heated exchange between two people erupted in the middle of a busy mall. Around 150 demonstrators gathered outside of fashion retailer Zara. Toronto police said Friday that they would be prepared for similar demonstrations in the downtown core this weekend, with Deputy Police Chief Lauren just go with the police chief saying if protesters refuse to leave private property when asked, they could be arrested. Lawful demonstrations do not include protesting in privately owned spaces, blocking critical infrastructure, or causing disturbance at the expense of other residents. But back when the COVID enthusiasts were all like no vaccines and stuff like that, when they were blocking the entrances to hospitals, the police in that instance did very little to get them out of the way. And it did delay some people from getting the treatment that they needed when they needed it. So it certainly does not include intimidation, harassment, or hateful behavior. Police said the majority of the 250 protests they have attended in the city since October 7th, Hamas attack, have been peaceful. 250 protests in one city since October 7th? Hell yeah. That's good. Keep it up. Keep it up. I was going to say something. I had something in my brain about this. Darn it, what was it? Let's just going to quickly see if I can remember. What was it that I was going to say? Something that I said in my last stream that I would kind of want to reiterate here. Oh, I almost had it. Darn it. I need to think of it. What was it? It was something along the lines of the perception of it. No, this is going to bug me. What was I about to say? It's late. It's like, it feels like it's a lot later than it actually is right now. That I can't even remember what I was trying to reiterate. I think it was something along the lines like, how can we believe what the government tells us with this and how we can't trust them, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, I'll just move on to the next thing and read some chats while I still have some coherent thoughts going through my brain. This must be very entertaining for people to watch. Just me rambling on and losing track of things. I'm in a very ADHD hyperactive mood right now, so things are very distracting, like this little cat hair that was just flying in front of my face that I see them and I kind of want to snap them out of the air, but then you will all be looking at me like I'm crazy, which isn't wrong, but just not the way that you're thinking. Because it bugs me when I see little cat hairs floating around. I just want to snap them out of the air. Anyway, let's go back to the chat and see what you all are up to. Wow, thank you. Got so many people, so many more here than I thought would actually show up on Christmas Eve this late. Rachel Atwood, 1 inch equals 2.54 centimeters. Yes. Why was that relevant? Talking about kilo to pounds. Okay. Yeah. Is the degrees Celsius the Fahrenheit in here too? Although that's a bit more complicated. Because at some point, if you go low to a certain like -40 or something like that, they actually are the same. Because it's not a strict 1-1-2 number ratio. Let's see. Rachel Atwood, more Sandy. It must be Christmas or something. Oh, wait. Yes. It is Christmas Eve. For those who celebrate. I used to really love getting into the Christmas spirit, but never for religious reasons. Because it kind of, I like the idea of people gathering to show their appreciation for one another and the excitement of giving gifts and seeing people's reactions and finding that perfect gift for someone and the turkey dinners and the smells and the decorations and all that. But it's been a while since I felt myself get into that with everything that's been happening in my life and in the world. But I never, because I'm not religious, I don't follow any religion. I have a very strong belief system, but I don't believe in any religious institution, and I don't believe in a god and that sort of thing. But I still like getting into the spirits of the different holidays we have. So I did what a lot of the Christians did in the first place, and I just converted them to mean something different for me. So Christmas is very much like that celebration of uh, being together, of appreciating each other, all that sort of stuff. You know, a time for hope and reflection and mending ways and stuff. And you know, Easter to me is more of a, you know, it is along the lines of like rebirth and celebration of life and new growth and nature in general. And Valentine's celebration of all sorts of different types of love. So I have taken a lot of these Christian holidays that were based on pagan beliefs and made them into my own thing. Not unlike what they did, but that's how it goes, because there is something about having, you know, a large group of the people you're around, like society and stuff, being on the same page with some things, like a celebration of some sort, something that can really bring community together. But then some people do tend to get so caught up into that it's, you know, the commercialization of it, not that great. The pressure put on some people because some people have a lot of issues with their family, and the thought of going to see their family is very stressing. The thought of not being able to get gifts for people because you don't have the money. Um, Seeing everyone else celebrate and have all this great food and stuff while you might not have anything in your fridge. Like there's so many different layers, and some of the original things about what Christmas was supposed to be is gone because there shouldn't be anyone with an empty fridge this time of year. You know, there shouldn't be anyone that has to spend it alone. Like you might not have a family that you can go to, but there should be a group, a community, friends that you can see, a place that you can go to be around others. And people just get so caught up in their own lives that they tend to forget that they're part of a wider community. Like whenever I had extra money to spend around Christmas and stuff, one thing I always would do is make sure that I get those gifts for the Salvation Army to hand out to other kids that, you know, are signed up because their parents can't afford things and stuff. And I've done that every year I had the money to do that. Because when I was a child, I was one of those children to receive some of those gifts. But also, I tried to get gifts that were geared towards teenagers because so often you see the stuffed animals and the clothing and the coloring books and stuff, but you don't see anything that's really appropriate for teenagers. And so something that I would do is get some board games, apples to apples board game and stuff, because then that's something that is more geared towards, you know, older kids, teenagers, but then that's something that they can bring to a party, to an activity they can do with other people, or they can invite people over to play this game and make it so, you know, there's interactions and stuff. And, you know, board games can be lots of fun. And so that's what I would always try to do is get some board games for the older kids because quite often they are left out of it. Um, let's see. BKK, Hitler famously loved brown people, lol. Yeah, it just like the presumption of what their heroes must be or something, or their need to connect them with such a horrible figure when it's so obviously wrong. Like it's just again the propaganda that the IDF is putting together with all the money they're getting, you'd think they could do something decent with it instead of being so obviously wrong and bad and just let's see. Uh, Okay, Morbius Dragon. I'm sitting in my SUV, warming it up and letting the battery charge a little bit. There will be no dead battery this winter. One thing I love, and my mom has always kind of gifted to me with the cars that I've had, is the remote starter. Oh my gosh. That has saved me so many times because with cars that I didn't have that, and they would freeze shut in the winter so many times. And sometimes I'd be able to get in partially or something, or have to be able to get like a wire in and like break into my own car through the window or something because the doors wouldn't open, and crawl in through the window, or I could get a back door open and not the front door. So I'd have to get in the back door and then crawl over the seats into the front seat so that I could get the car started up and whatnot. But with the remote starter, you can at least get it warmed up and some of the ice and stuff start to melt so you can actually open the doors. Yeah, it's good to have. Atticus Mungus. Looks like you're putting in the conversion there for degrees Celsius to Fahrenheit or something like that. Yeah, it's type it into Google these days. Next, what is the conversion rate of, American to Canadian dollar, or Canadian dollar to American dollar, since we're putting them all in there? And then the proper spelling for neighbor. Da, 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 da. My dogs are goth. I left it a box. That's so smart. Read teenagers' gifts. I always buy the little kid toys when I can donate. Teenagers, great idea. Yeah. Um, just a board game, very age appropriate for teenagers and something that they can share with friends. Like it is something I feel like teenagers would really appreciate. Is Cards Against Humanity appropriate for teens? No, but that's what Apples to Apples is. So Apples to Apples is the family-friendly version of Cards Against Humanity. So it's a good stepping stone. Like, I'm sure some teenagers absolutely play Cards Against Humanity, no doubt about it, but it's not a gift that would be appropriate to to send in these things. But there's oh, what's the game? Because I'm not necessarily keen on board games myself, but there's a few that I actually really like. And so there's Apples to Apples, and then what's the other one that I have? Just a second. Taboo is another good game. But then there's this one that I actually like playing, Code Names. And this is Code Names, so this version is duets. And the reason why I like this one is because um, it's more, you're not competing against each other. It's more of a you both win or you both lose type thing. So, because I don't necessarily, I like the cooperative board games more, the one where we're all winning and stuff. And it's more because I've been with way too many people that get too competitive with board games and too invested in them. Whereas I kind of like them as, just a fun little party thing off to the side to maybe spark conversation. But Codenames Duet I like because it is a collaborative version of Codenames, and there's all sorts of different versions. And this is called The Game. And I also find this one really fun. It's hard to explain, and it's hard to Google because it's called The Game. But it's a card game, so you have 4 rows of cards, and you have like 100, 100, 100, 1, 1, 1. And then all of you are working together to get rid of the rest of the stack of the cards by putting in order and things of that sort. And again, it's hard to explain in like a 2-minute or 20-second synopsis, but yeah. So games like Apples to Apples, Codenames, all the different versions of Codenames, um, great games for teenagers and adults. I actually made my own deck of Cards Against Humanity, well, my own extension to it, a bunch of years ago. It was kind of like a birthday gift for myself. So at my birthday party, and my girlfriend at the time, she had them printed and she matched the font and everything to the actual cards. So it's very difficult to tell which are which, but then there's a little thing on it to say it's the Tote extension deck. Tote being the improv group that I was with, Theater on the Edge. And I had my own extension deck to it, and it's just, they were so much fun because once you learn the grammar of how to make those cards, because you want as many question and answer cards to be able to go together, then it gets to be a lot of fun. Atticus Among Us. Sandy, are you familiar with Bo, the fifth column, who supports teenagers in DV shelters this time of year? I do watch a fair bit of his videos. I do like him. Let's see. Soul Life, I donate $5 US and was thanked for donating $10 Canadian. It's not quite that far, but yeah. It's all the Americans who want to help support me and getting Frodo's vet bills paid off. Keep in mind that that $20, that $10 is actually, it means a lot more to me due to the conversion rate. I loved getting my checks from Rebel HQ in American dollars. Find out it's a lot more than that. My dogs are goth, Sandy. I have the very same duet version. Yeah, I want to get uh, the Marvel version with all the MCU and stuff like that, because that's something I like the MCU. Well, up to a point. All the latest stuff coming out from them is so ever since Endgame, the only good things really. I kind of like the first season of Loki. Shang-Chi, I love Shang-Chi. Absolutely love it. And I absolutely love, love, love Guardians 3. Absolutely amazing. Um, Spider-Man No Way Home, I liked, but so many of the other movies, I'm just like, they're so bad in so many ways. Oh, thank you, Soul Life, for the $5. And if that's American, then it's going to be much more Canadian eventually. Really appreciate it. Edward Schneider, my 7-year-old granddaughter, got me the strange flavored goldfish elf from the movie, maple syrup and graham cracker flavor. Oh, ew. Strange flavored gold. Like I'm imagining like a mix of the goldfish crackers with maple syrup. And you know what? As a Canadian, I can say this. Maple syrup does not go with everything. It just doesn't. It just doesn't. um, Rachel Atwood, extra Canadian or full of inside jokes, courtesy of Sandy. Yeah. That's one thing I absolutely loved doing on Rebel HQ was throwing in the inside jokes about Canada. Um, the one that I loved, and I would read the comments afterwards, was I was talking about a bill being passed in Ontario on the provincial level. And I'm like, "Oh, for all you Americans out there who don't know, Ontario is next to Toronto." And then somebody in the comments is like, oh, haha, you almost got me. Chances are like, they're nowhere near each other or something like that. And then Canadian after them is like, no, it's a lot different than that. Toronto is in Ontario. Just fun things like that. Or the idioms I would use that I've never heard of in Canada before, but it's like, oh yeah, we totally say son of a moose shepherd. That's a thing. We say that. Uh Nadia Yvette Chambers, the whole shelter industrial complex support, unsurprisingly. Jesus Freaks and Turfs for DV specifically, and large proportions of abused children are LGBT, especially the T. Yeah. Rachel again. Growing up, my family went to Nova Scotia for a summer vacation, and each year the dollar change was a crapshoot each year. Yeah. BKK, I think it's graham cracker goldfish. Are those like two different things? Because all I'm thinking of are the little orange, kind of dry, salty things. I don't know if in the States you have something different. Morbius Dragon, you didn't like Avengers Endgame? Okay, well bye. Bye. Just kidding. When I rewatch it, I tend to rewatch certain points of it, like the end battle and things of that sort. I don't necessarily, I have to be in the right mood to watch the whole thing. But there's a lot of fan service in there, and I don't like, I feel like it's such a cop out to do the whole time travel thing to fix the problem. So I wasn't necessarily keen on that. Plus, there's like a bazillion holes in it, but I was watching it actually. Okay, so we're getting off on random tangents here that I was hoping to save till tomorrow, but we're just doing it now. Endgame, when I first saw it in the theaters, was actually extremely emotional for me because that was, I had tried to become a candidate for the federal election here in my riding. And I tried so hard, and so many things happened, and so many things worked against me. I still haven't made a video about everything, but at some point I probably should. Just the way that the NDP treated me, and all the ways that they were favoring the other person and making it impossible for me to win. And then at the meeting with the vote to see who would be the candidate, gave a very passionate speech. Like pretty much anyone who went there undecided voted for me. And despite everything that I was up against in that, and every way they gave the other person advantages to win, I lost by just a few votes, if that. But I had been working towards it for a year and a half at that point. And I was just so, so devastated. Like just beyond devastated. Like just completely, that's the thing that I've talked about before, where just it broke a part of me I didn't think was possible breaking. And I just lost complete faith in myself, complete faith in the universe, like everything that I'd been through, all the things that led up to that moment. And so a way of coping right afterwards was I started to watch all of the MCU movies in order, like every waking moment. I had to have that on as a distraction because I was having such a hard time dealing with it. So I just started at the beginning and every single one, just every moment that I was awake. I needed that background noise. I needed that distraction in order to process everything that was happening. And so it didn't take me that long to go through all the movies, even though there's a lot of movies. And Endgame was still in theaters at that time. So I think Spider-Man, Far From Home, and Endgame were in theaters. So when I was done watching all of them, I went to the theater and did a double hitter. So I went and watched both of them in the theater the same day. But I remember watching Endgame at that point. And near the beginning, the part that nearly made me lose my mind, there was, well, two parts really. Like when they were talking about failure and how difficult it is to overcome it. Like that really got to me, and the whole, like it's a meme now where the Hawkeye is like, don't give me hope type thing. And I know that feeling from so many other times, that the only thing worse than having no hope is having hope and having that taken away. So like those were the things that really got to me and got me more emotional than anything else in that movie. So Yeah, there's that little tangent there. But to me, the MCU movies, they're kind of like chicken soup for the soul type thing. I like just not because they have any deep meaning or they're like amazing cinema or anything of that sort. It's just it's comfort food for me, those movies. But the the more recent ones are just like, nah, no. Some of them are just so bad, so bad. It's disappointing actually. Atticus. Buddy the Elf would disagree with you. Left of the Box, it's one of the 4 food groups. Not too sure what that food group is. Maple syrup? Is maple syrup a food group? I suppose in Canada it is. Let's see. Butter sugar toast, Chrissy said. I remember that. Brown sugar on toast with some butter and stuff. Yeah. Teddy, cool. I heard the new Aquaman movie is a disappointment. I'm still going to watch it because I really like the first Aquaman. I thought it was just a fun movie. You know, again, nothing deep or anything, but just visually stunning, fun. Though I have issues with the tsunami. But that's every movie with a tsunami in it because one of my special interests is physical geography, natural disasters. So I know what a tsunami is supposed to look like, and I always get so upset with movie tsunamis. Like I love natural disaster slasher flicks, as I call them, but they're so unbelievably, laughably unrealistic. And so I look at the tsunamis and I'm like, well, actually, that wouldn't happen because of this, 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 and then there's this, and then the type of tsunamis that you see in movies, there's ones where it just kind of washes inland and then it disappears into whatever, or the ones where it washes in and then suddenly it's still water. Like the water is just raised and it's perfectly still and you can swim in it even. Like the best tsunami movie out there is called The Impossible. And it actually has the guy who plays Spider-Man, Tom Holland, when he was like 12. He's in it. And that's a really good tsunami movie because it's based on the Indonesian tsunami that happened, the Boxing Day tsunami. And they actually did a decent, like a really good job with the effects and everything that happened with that. So, but it's a bit heart-wrenching too. So it's a good tsunami movie if you want to watch a tsunami movie. Ah, but I say that I got in that little tangent because there's a tsunami in the first Aquaman movie that I'm like, I love visually what they do with them in the movies, but they're so unrealistic. So unrealistic. Okay, why don't we actually get back to some news? Because I had some news, and I at least want to get to the news that I had in the titles. So I had Canadian cops acting like cops. We can do that one. And then what else did I have something different in let me just check something quickly. Oh no, it won't be on there. Crap. Because I make a new intro for every time I do these things, and so I want to make sure that what I put in the intro is there, and what I put in the title is there, but then I didn't save it, so then it won't be there. I am really disjointed today. Let's just quickly do this.
Do
Pause that because you guys don't need to hear the volume as I go over here. Okay, so the 2 stories that I still need to get to that are in the title and stuff is Canadian cops are still cops and the rich build luxury bunkers. Yes, I wanted to get to those 2 things. And was there anything else in the description that I need to get to? Healthcare issues. Oh my God. Okay, we need to get back to this. Well, the healthcare issues were the ones that I was looking at and then thinking, yeah, no, that's way too heavy right now, so I might skip those healthcare issues. But let's get to the cops acting like cops. Mm. There we go. Okay. From Sarah on Twitter, I once again need to repeat myself. Do not call the police for wellness checks or mental health. Yes, in Canada, that is a problem. It absolutely is a problem. And especially if you're Indigenous or brown, um, it can be deadly. And it has been deadly. So we always hear about police shootings down in the States and how bad it is, and disproportionately, it is horrible. But out of comparable countries, Canada is the second worst when it comes to that. Like the United States, still the worst by far. Canada, second worst when it comes to police shooting. And so this tweet here was from December 19th, but there was another story of the same type of thing from December 10th. Parents of a woman shot dead by Edmonton police doing welfare check. Question procedures. And then this one here. No, that's this article. We don't need to see this disturbing video. Family of Edmonton man who died days after arrest released video of police encounter raises concern. The family of a man who was arrested by police after reportedly behaving erratically in the South Edmonton, who died in hospital 12 days after he was taken into custody, has released a video of the police encounter and asking questions about the method police used to arrest him and about the process for investigation into the matter. Alberta Police Watchdog is investigating police officers' actions in the arrest of 46-year-old sorry, I don't know the name, on September 20th because he was taken to a hospital immediately following the arrest and later died there. His family is demanding answers to why police responded to a mental health crisis with such force that they believe led to their son's death. Reads a statement issued by Heather, the lawyer representing the man's family. On October 6th, the Edmonton Police Service issued a news release to advise that the Alberta Serious Incidents Response Team is investigating what happened. The EPS said officers were deployed to a trouble with person call on Shask. No names, no street names, no people names, no names. Let's just no names. Called to Crescent after someone reported a man had been acting erratically and possibly impaired while swinging an ice chipper at the ground and at a passing vehicle. Police said when officers arrived in the south area, they approached him and told him to lie on the ground and put down the ice chipper. They said while he was on the ground, they put him in handcuffs, and as they were doing so, he went into medical distress. So officers called paramedics and immediately began performing CPR. He was taken into hospital. The family's attorney said that the family believed he was experiencing a mental health crisis at the time and that the video, which was taken by a neighbor while they were inside their home, raises questions about how the police arrested him. It did not need to go immediately hands-on with handcuffing him and hog-tying him. She said one has to question why they took the heavy response. And a recent stream, I don't know if it was the last stream or the stream before that, showed footage of a police officer in Toronto actually kneeling on the neck of somebody who was on the ground. And then they claimed afterwards that didn't happen, even though there's footage of it clearly happening. And they said, well, it looks like it's possible that the knee was on the area between the shoulders and the head, which would be the neck. And you can see at times that all of this officer's body weight would have been on that area because of the way he was positioned, and he was busy stomping on the person's glasses. Like, this is something that I worry about too, because in this type of situation, if the police were to check up on me during a mental health check, it probably would not go well for me. It would probably end up pretty poorly. Um, for one thing, I'd probably go nonverbal in that sort of stress, which I've covered in a video for my channel before about a young man. I think he was a man or an old teenager male who was nonverbal, that the police just basically kidnapped out of a playground because he was playing in a playground but seemed too old for that, even though he wasn't harming anyone. And yeah, the police should not be going to these types of calls. You know, mental health uh, situations require somebody who's trained to deal with people in mental health crises. And more often than not, like, the person isn't a danger to anyone. The person that they're most in danger to is to themselves. And there's so many stories, because I remember for one video I was doing, I just tried Googling it. And there was story after story of people in mental health crises dying at the hands of police or dying during that encounter from various different ways. And yeah, that's in Canada. But there's no reason why police should be called to these types of situations. And it just ends very poorly for everyone involved, for the people involved, for the family, because these deaths are preventable. Sometimes it's just a cry for help from people. And then it's the guilt of the person who called in for the mental health check because they thought they were doing something good. You know, they were trying to help their family or their friend or something, just to have the police come in and kill them. Well, not kill them, but, you know, encourage circumstances that lead to the end of that person's life. And sometimes they have actually just shot the person for all the reasons that you see the Americans cops shoot unarmed people. It happens here in Canada too. But here's the thing, like, we always hear so much about how horrible the American police are, but we tend to forget that Canadian police and American police are pretty much the same thing. And a lot of them cross-train, and in some of the encampment destructions that the police have partaken here in Canada and Toronto and stuff, you see them with badges on that they're not supposed to have on, of American US Thin Blue Line solidarity badges. So we have Thin Blue Line Canadian badges that they're not, police officers are not supposed to wear, but some of them still do. But there's also solidarity badges, where it's like half American flag, half Canadian flag with a thin blue line type thing. So all the stuff that you hear about in the States, it happens here. So we have women's group dismayed that officer who threatened to kill X was demoted, not fired. Yorick pleaded guilty to discreditable conduct, also found guilty in criminal court. So somebody who was found guilty in a criminal court still allowed to be a police officer for something as violent as this. Like, do you think that he would ever be able to be in these situations and not be biased about it? You know? And it's like, I'm here now, I'm just trying to read this, and then this article here catches my eye. Niagara police officer asked trans woman for dead name while questioning her filming at bus terminal. Like, it is just, there's so many issues with the police on both sides of the border. So an Ottawa police officer who threatened to kill his ex and wielded a knife in a 2020 domestic dispute has been demoted for 2 years. That's it, just demoted for 2 years. And some who work to support victims of violence against women say they're disappointed but not surprised. Community groups are still hoping to go over the safety plan in place for the victim, who also works for the Ottawa Police Service, and discussed whether there been any review of the cases the disciplined officer, Constable Yorick, worked on. before he committed to the domestic offenses, he worked on domestic cases for 4 years as a member of the Intimate Partner Violence Unit. So you have somebody specifically that is supposed to intervene or deal with domestic violence and intimate partner violence, responsible for that type of thing that normally he'd be called in on. And there has been studies out there that have shown that there is a disproportionate amount of intimate partner violence with police officers. There's one study that came out of England in particular that I can think of off the top of my head, but I wouldn't know where to find, where it is very disproportionately the percent of, it's men, usually men and women partners that they are violent towards. And like, who do you go to if you're the person being abused in that situation? Who do you go to? His colleagues, his friends, his workplace, to try to report that? The 43-year-old pleaded guilty in October to 2 counts of discreditable conduct laid by his force under the Police Services Act. He was previously found guilty of criminal charges and given a conditional discharge, meaning he'll have no criminal record if he abides by the terms of a 3-year probation order. I wonder if that's the same treatment somebody else would have gotten if they weren't a police officer, and let's say if they weren't white. Is that the same type of treatment that they would get? Yeah. Yeah, it's a rhetorical question. Everyone knows the answer to that. During his internal disciplinary hearing, OPS prosecutors said an appropriate penalty could range anywhere from a 14-month demotion to dismissal from the force. You know what? Dismissal from the force sounds like a very appropriate penalty for this. In the end, the prosecution and defense agreed he should be demoted for 2 years from first-class constable to second-class constable. So just one step down, one step demotion. In a discussion released December 11th, disciplinary hearings officer Superintendent Chris agreed with that joint submission and sentenced him to the demotion, meaning he stands to lose about $26,000 in salary. So what he loses in salary is more than what I get in a year. And if you look at how much police officers get, like what their salary is, he's not going to be hurting. This doesn't, like, if he has any sense about finances, this won't be hurting him at all. Like, at all. Like I said, that's more money than I get in 1 year from Ontario Disability. Just what he loses out in that. But police officers are regularly on the sunshine list, as we call them here, public servants with salaries over $100,000. And yeah, so they say this, but what they really should have said, so his salary will drop from 100,000 to 80,000 or something like that, to really give a clear indication of, what this punishment is, as in it's not really a punishment. Like it's a demotion that in a couple of years he'll get over anyway, and he's still making bank. Like it's disgusting that he's allowed to go back on the force. Like, I'm all for restorative justice, but where in here is the restorative justice? Like, where in here is the talk that he's going to get help, that he's going to, go to counseling, find what his ex needs in order to help them get over this trauma that they endured at his hands. Like, I'm all for restorative justice, but where is it here? It's not happening. And if it's not going to happen, then he absolutely should not be on the force, because he's not going to improve. He's not going to be a better police officer based on this punishment. It's not going to make him magically not be an abusive asshole. Advocacy group has called for dismissal. Earlier this fall, more than a dozen women's advocacy groups disagreed with the submission and signed a public letter late October calling for him to be dismissed from the force. His continued employment erodes public trust, endangers victims, particularly the victims of his crimes, and sends a disheartening message to our community, the letter read. It is also called on the force to make cases involving him available for review and for the city to redirect resources from policing to community-based supports and services. The Ottawa's Women's Shelter Interval House was one of the organizations that signed the letter. Carrie Lewis, his executive director, said Tuesday that the demotion was disappointing but not surprising. Police officers should be held to a higher standard than average citizens, considering that they can make decisions in cases of abuse happening in the community, Lewis said. The demotion sends a really strong message to survivors that Ottawa police didn't take partner violence seriously, she added. My message to the police, just do better and let us help with that. Community groups tried to get a meeting with Ottawa Police Chief Eric Stubbs about this guy's case in the fall. They couldn't find the time that worked for everyone. Oh, scheduling conflicts. And now they're looking at possible dates in January, after the Christmas party. We look forward to talking more about this and figuring out what better looks like and how we can get to that place, Lewis said. It's been decades of just generally not responding well to cases of intimate partner violence, having very low charge rates, and not dealing particularly well with violence within their ranks. So my message is just do better and let us help with that. She said the OPS and the chief office did not respond to requests for comments. The union representing the police officers, blah, 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 sent an email that they take responsibility for his actions and want to move on. That, this guy is taking full responsibility for his actions. That's bullshit. Nowhere in there do you find anything that might indicate that he's going to be a better person after the demotion is over. He's still going to be quite wealthy, given what police officers are generally paid. He's not going to be a better person. How do you trust that as somebody who needs to turn to the police if you're in this type of situation? If you know this type of thing that the officers are guilty of and they're allowed to stay on the force. You can't. It's not possible. And it's far, far too common to see cops get away with things that they arrest other people for. But I wonder, actually, if I do this. Let me just get off that for a moment. I hate when I'm right. Sometimes. I said the sunshine list. There's that guy there. Yeah, his name. In 2022, his salary was $127,045. Benefits $610. That was a 11.8% raise since the previous year. Salary history. Ooh, look at that. So what they didn't mention is, yes, he's losing out on $26,000 a year. He's still making over $100,000. That's not a punishment. Yeah, just so you know, Canadians, you can usually find this information if, simple Google will find it. The Sunshine List comes out every year. You can see for public servants and stuff, but constable level. So yeah, he's still going to be making over 100,000 no deduction in his benefits. Yeah, this isn't going to make him a better person at the end of this. Let's go on to more cops acting poorly. Guelph Today reporter detained, camera seized while covering news event. An OPP. So for all you Americans out there, the OPP stands for Ontario Provincial Police. And there's a song by a group that they had a hip hop group. Darn it, I can't remember the name. They had a song about this. Yeah, the OPP. Yeah, you know me. It was quite the jam back in the day. An OPP officer detained a senior reporter with Guelph Today Wednesday morning at the scene of a fatal collision, and his memory card was seized by the coroner's office. A Guelph Today reporter, okay, we don't need to just repeat exactly what I just said. Senior reporter and assistant editor Richard had arrived at the scene of a fatal collision on College Avenue at the Hanlon Expressway. You see, the only reason why I know that says Hanlon is because I live in this area. I live close enough to know I've driven on there before, so I know what it's called. Just seconds before being detained by an OPP officer. As I was walking up, they crossed the road sign and pylons on the road, but nothing blocking the sidewalk, no tape, no pylons or anything, he said. There were pedestrians using the sidewalk where he was standing at the time. Seeing that all the officers were busy, he began taking pictures in quick succession, but only captured about 10 before OPP officer turned around and yelled at him to stop, he said. He came over and grabbed me by the jacket, my left wrist, so he had control of my left arm. He told me that he was seizing my camera. He then handed over his camera and asked the officer to let go of his arm, but he said no. He informed me that I had not handed him my camera, that had I not handed him my camera, I would have been arrested, and that officially it was seized by the coroner under the coroner's authority to seize during an investigation, he said. The officer told, what was his first name? Richard? Richard. I'm going to go with his first name, Richard. To stand at the rear of an OPP cruiser where he provided his ID and was detained for about 15 minutes before the officer asked if he was going to wait for a warrant receipt for his camera. I pointed out that I had been detained, and Richard, noting that's when he was informed he was no longer formally detained. The coroner's boss came to the scene, Richard said, and according to the OPP officer, they decided they would give back the camera but kept the SD card as it was evidence in their investigation. Because I guess none of the police officers there or other investigators there had any cameras. No, they didn't. They needed to take this SD card because he had pictures that it was just impossible for them to get. During that time, no one explained how or when Richard would get his SD card back, and did not give any more details as to why it had been confiscated. He did not have any direct contact with anyone from the coroner's office either. Richard noted that pedestrians were regularly using the intersection and crossing the Hanlon while he was detained, and that youth, potentially from a nearby high schools, were capturing the scenes with their phones. So for some reason, this reporter has his camera seized and all that sort of stuff, but all these kids nearby with their cell phones, that's fine? Really? No police were yelling at them or taking their cameras, he said. He was told he was detained because he was on an active crime scene, and I was obstructing their investigation by standing way back from the evidence and taking photos. In his more than 20 years as a reporter, Richard said Richard has not once been detained or has his equipment seized while doing his job, and he doesn't believe they were right to do so this time. I was not obstructing what they were doing in any way, he said. In fact, I started taking photos because they all appeared to be busy. My general plan for things like this is that I would approach the police afterwards to see what they can tell me. He said that when he arrived, there was something under a tarp, but he didn't know what it was. The general approach is, I don't know what anything is. I don't know what's going on, so I take photos and then we decide after, he said. It's not their choice what we take photos of and what we use. He said that as a community news organization, Guelph Today wouldn't run any inappropriate or identifying photos from the scene of a fatal collision, which was shared with the OPP officer. We don't even run license plates in a facility. He said, we're very sensitive from that perspective. Wellington County Police OPP Staff Sergeant Karen couldn't speak to why Richard was detained and his equipment seized, but said since there was a death, the coroner is conducting an investigation. So under the direction of the coroner, they can actually authorize police officers to exercise any or all authorities into the coroner's powers that are listed under the Coroner's Act, she said. This sounds very after the fact, because I don't think there was a coroner on scene directing that police officer to go over to that reporter to seize his camera and let all the teenagers by with their cell phone. I don't think that was happening. Karen provided no further information on OPP policy when it comes to detaining reporters and confiscating their equipment, but said that in any death investigation, the police are under direction of the coroner. Efforts to reach the regional coroner office for clarification and comment were not immediately successful. There was no word when or if the SD card would be returned. Guelph Today regional editor Tony Saxton said 30 years covering news, he has never heard of a reporter having their work tools confiscated at the scene of a news event. We were covering an important news event, doing our job. Police had no reason to prevent a journalist from doing his job and no grounds to confiscate his equipment. It's almost unheard of, Saxton said, adding that Guelph Today would never run photos of the deceased from such a scenario, and that was explained to the police officer in question. Yeah, so I've mentioned before, in Canada, we don't have free speech. We have freedom of expression and all this sort of stuff. But something that is protected is reporters doing their job. They're allowed to do that here in Canada. Reporters are allowed to report on crime scenes that they do all the time. So that is something that I'm going to get to. I would definitely be interested to find out what the actual motivations from this police officer was. Like, what was it? Like, this makes me want to know more about what happened at that scene. Like, were they trying to hide the fact that maybe it was a police officer that was involved in this crash? That, like, why would they just randomly take this reporter's equipment at that scene? But then also, why are they so concerned about that reporter and not everyone else there taking pictures? Like, it makes no sense that you have to think that there is some sort of bias or personal issue going on. And it's just, yeah, the police, both sides of the border, are just getting more and more militant, more and more bold with what they're doing when it comes to arresting people, seizing equipment, accusing people, or abusing people. The things that the police do and are allowed to get away with, if any other civilian were to do that, would be arrested for. So why exactly are the police allowed to do that? It's so here we have new Hamilton Police Service Board will ask the city for a total budget of $213 million in 2024. So for Americans, $213 million in Canadian dollars versus American dollars is a lot. It's definitely a lot. I've used that joke so many times, though, I don't know how much more that's going to land. It's $20 million more than the 2023 budget, but if you exclude imposed costs from the Police Service Act, the total request is $13 million or 6.88% increase. Yeah. And as this person points out, $20 million. There are people living in tents outside and dying here. We do not need more police investigation. All this money going to the police services to have a police officer be demoted for threatening to kill his ex-partner, lose a bit of a salary, but still make over $100,000. Police going on power trips, taking equipment away from reporters. Like, all of this stuff. Police going to mental health wellness checks with the person ending up dead at the end of it. All of that money, like half of that money, if put towards other social services, would improve the condition of the city and the situation for so many people far, far better than just handing it over to the police would ever do. And why this is so devastating and so disappointing is this. More than 400 people experiencing homelessness died on Calgary streets so far this year. In one Alberta city, 400 people. And that's because, in Canada in winter, there are no warm places to go. There are no states that you can go to where you don't get below freezing. And every year this is a problem. And as climate change becomes more and more extreme, we're going to see more and more of this. Because, one time it was in the summer, they had the heat dome over Alberta, not Alberta, over BC. Hundreds and hundreds of people died in that. Most of them would be unhoused, unable to get access to air conditioning. Most of them would be living with disabilities. And that's the thing, like when you are living homeless without a home, you don't die of old age. You die of exposure, you die of disease, you die of violence. I don't want to get into the details of this again because it's just really, really sad. I'll link to this article. I'll remember to link to this article afterwards so that you can read it if you want. But it's horrible. Just the fact that she had to sleep outside in the first place. The fact that if I had just made a call an hour sooner or so sooner, she would still be breathing at that point. It may have been early enough to save her. According to the Calgary Homeless Foundation, 436 people experiencing homelessness have died so far this year in Calgary. It's a significant increase from last year when 239 deaths were reported by the end of 2022. And it's increasing because the amount of people that are going unhoused is increasing. It is, yeah. I think there was another article kind of connected to this that I wanted to hit on. Yeah. From the breakdown in Alberta, is this some sort of sick joke, making the argument that people using fires to stay warm during cold days is somehow tied to organized crime is a new level of unhinged, even for Smith. So Danielle Smith is the premier of Alberta, and she is a Canada MAGA, Canada MAGA, Camaga. I don't know what you want to call it. Give it some sort of cute nickname. Another very real example of how organized crime operating drug markets is making encampments dangerous for most of our vulnerable and surrounding community. Okay, organized crime with drugs, they have the money to have shelter. They're not doing it out of encampments. Our province has worked hard to ensure that safe shelter spaces are available to those who need them, and I have debunked why that is not the case time and time again, in that if there was a better option for the people in the encampments, they would take them. They don't go to the shelter spaces offered because those are not better options. They're picking the least worst option. But yeah, to just say that the fires that are breaking out in these encampments are due to, organized crime and drugs. It's like that whole organized retail theft thing, which was just turned out to be bullshit because it was. So much has got to change in this country. It is just beyond. Like, we have the resources, we have the money, we have the means. Nobody should be going hungry this time of year or any time of year. Nobody should be unhoused. We give so much money to the police and then they turn around and use it to traumatize the communities they're supposed to protect. Yeah, defund the police. Defund. Absolutely, defund. I'm all for that. As I say, you know, the call for defund the police didn't come out of the blue. It's a result of the actions of the blue. Defund, dismantle, reinvent. Like, there's better ways of policing. But yeah, I'll link to that article. I want to get into some more, you know, not devastating stories, some more interesting stuff to kind of end this with, um, as opposed to just the horror. But it's like all of those stories that I read from the police, it's just this month. Like some of them, yeah, like the charges and stuff were from earlier, but this was all from this month. Okay, let's check chat, shall we? Sorry, I drink pop and I get gas. Oh, for anyone who wants a really good laugh, somebody was just mentioning that Morbius Dragon watching Home Alone right now. After you're done watching it, I have a mission for you to accomplish, a task for you to complete, if you choose to accept, which would benefit you greatly if you do. Go onto YouTube and type in Home Alone pitch meeting. Okay, so like Ryan George is my favorite comedian of like ever, and he does skits on on social media, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, all that sort of stuff. And it's the whole thing of him talking to himself, but he does these things called pitch meetings. They are so funny. They are so funny. I was actually thinking of watching one of his skits to end this off with. I don't think that would be a copyright issue. And it's not like I'd be taking away from his audience because he gets like millions of views on his videos and super funny. He's Canadian, so that makes him like amazingly 10 times 1,000 better than anything else. I'm a huge fan of his. Uh, and his humor definitely leans progressive. You can go over. So some of his videos are on Screen Rant for the pitch meetings, but then Pitch Meeting got its own YouTube channel. But then he also has his own YouTube channel called Ryan George. You know what? At the end of this, we'll go check out one of his videos just to lighten this all up because he is just so funny and amazing. Um, just trying to see if I can see a comment that I know the context of. Merry Christmas to people. Okay. Soul Life. Hey Vin, I still haven't told TMR who I think you are on multiple requests. Okay, so yeah, I didn't know what that was about. Looks like everyone's having a detailed conversation there that I don't know where to pop in. Da, 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 da. My dogs are goth. I'm in Calgary. Oh, you have my sympathies then. And 400, Jesus, I didn't even hear that. Yeah, it's pretty brutal. Let's see. I was in Calgary very temporarily, well, not recently, like 6 years ago. Flying back from my father's funeral because it landed in Edmonton, but then Edmonton to Calgary and then Calgary back out here to spent a night in Calgary with I forget how they were related, but yeah. Okay. Let's just get into the super preppers. First, I have to do something. That bugs me. Okay, there we go. The super rich preppers planning to save themselves from the apocalypse. Here's the thing about apocalypses. They kind of wipe out everything. Like all these things, all these luxuries that they're trying to do. Do you know what? If they really want to avoid the apocalypse, they can get rid of capitalism. If they want to survive till the end times, like it is something like they're causing their own feared fate. Uh, Tech billionaires are buying up luxurious bunkers and hiring military security to survive societal collapse they help to create. But like everything they do, it has unintended consequences. As a humanist who writes about the impact of digital technology on our lives, I'm often mistaken for a futurist. The people, blah, blah, blah. Let's get to something interesting. I haven't read this full article because, we're just reading about Mark Zuckerberg making his super duper bunker. Like it's like a trend with them right now. Like here they are, they're spending millions on these luxury bunkers while we have 400 people dying on the streets of Calgary. Like it's just like to survive the like who when you think about it, do you really want to survive to the end of the world? Like if there's an apocalypse, being in some bunker somewhere, because you're going to run out of food eventually. You're going to run out of like the power, everything, the infrastructure is eventually going to fall apart. And then what? And then all these people that you're hiring to keep you safe, are they really going to do that? When they become desperate enough. I've seen enough apocalyptic movies to know how that plays out. Um, One is called The Divide. Oh my God, it's so intense. And there's a Cloverfield one, I think. I have both of them out in the other room, so I'm not going to go grab them, but really kind of more realistic ideas of what would happen in these situations. Like, to think you're going to survive the apocalypse, why not just prevent the apocalypse from happening? Like, all these rich assholes have the ability to do something about it. But, 11 luxury doomsday bunkers around the world. Look at that. A pool? Really? A pool. You're going to waste water in a pool for your luxury bunkers. One of the most intriguing and secretive structures that have been hitting the limelight recently due to COVID-19 since its emergence during the Cold War between the US and the Soviet Union is doomsday bunkers. Some people believe that there will come an apocalypse and when all of us shove ourselves into the ground like rabbits to save our lives and prepare for that day. So, what would this bunker really be protecting you from? Because if there's like, hey, go away. I don't know what you are. Go away. Um, if it's like an asteroid hit or a nuclear explosions and stuff, this bunker isn't going to be there anymore. Um, Doomsday bunkers are typically constructed underground of very thick reinforced concrete walls or carved into mountains with thick steel doors. Rather than just providing spaces for survival, these units become the epitome of luxury. Here's a list of 10 luxury doomsday bunkers around the world. Oh my God, it's like 6,750 square feet apartment and six 1,720 square feet apartments at ground level. Like, come on, that's bigger than what I'm in. So the Oppidum, located in the Czech Republic in Europe, surrounded by mountains, is the luxurious doomsday bunker that sprawls over 323,000 square feet of area and has all the leisure and work facilities. I feel like this is one of those like we need a commercial for a vacation space, like a resort. Like this isn't about a bunker, it's a resort. So I need to get into like the travel person What am I thinking of? That type of uh realtor type voice, It offers one 600. I should be able to speak if I'm going to do this, right? It offers one 6,700 square feet apartment and six 1,720 square feet apartments, a ground level golf course, helipad, because you're going to need that in the apocalypse, gotta have your helipad, and an underground five-star class bunker with restrooms having a whirlpool, bath, double sinks, and rainfall shower, a spa, swimming pool, garden with simulated natural light, cinema, library, billboard, billiards room, conference and communication rooms, gym, a splendid bar, an extravagant wine cellar, and a hospital with dental surgery facility apart from the mandatory facilities like water, air, electricity, and food. The bunker is said to support its users independently for 10 years and protect them from nuclear attacks. I'm getting attacked right now by a kitty cat. You really think that would hold up for 10 years if there's an apocalypse? Like the people wouldn't come and totally find ways to get in there and ransack it. Like really all the rich are doing when it comes time to eat the rich is they're just putting themselves in a cupboard for us. Like it's just, oh, so that's where the rich are. That's where we go to eat, huh? They're just they're boxing themselves. It's the box meat type thing for us right there is these bunkers. It's like, oh, so that's where dinner is. Ding ding ding. Oh, Abernathy. His eye is doing so much better. Mm. Uh, so Vivos Europea 1 luxury underground bunker house. I don't know if I'm saying it right. Of course, I don't know if I'm saying it right. It's a name. The Vivos Group is one of the fast growing doomsday bunker companies which claims that their shelters can give protection against nuclear war, biowar, terrorism, anarchy, electromagnetic pulse, solar flares, pole shift, killer comet, global tsunami, planet collisions, and volcanic eruptions. Carved into a 500-foot high mountain in Rothestein, Germany, the Vivos Europea 1 is spread over 76 acres above and below ground. Planet collisions? So this is a joke, right? That's it. That's a joke. That has to be a joke. Because if a planet collides with this one, no bunker is going to help. Oh. Oh, my dogs are gone. Thank you so much for the Canadian $10. Merry Christmas, Sandy. I have to log off now. Please have a safe and cozy Christmas with the kitties. Thank you, and you too. Well, not with my kitties, but I hope you have a safe and wonderful holiday. So the military fort turned private apartment suites has 34 living quarters, each 2,500 square feet, which is bigger than my apartment. The customizable parabolic units include a kitchen, bedrooms, deluxe bathroom, living, dining, swimming pool, theater, gym, and a bar as per the requirement. The impregnable steel doors and the thick concrete shell offers great protection. The train depot, helicopters, and car owned by the Vivos Group help in easy access and at times of emergency. These units reflect the ambience of mansions built underground. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Yeah. That will all work so perfectly come the apocalypse. Got a kitty on my lap. Go kitty on my lap. Kitty. Okay, I don't have to go over all of these. Okay, well, I need to go over this one because there's a really big picture there. Survival condo. Ah, there we go. Survival condo. Doomsday bunker. The survival condo in Kansas was built from the remains of a missile silo belonging to the U.S. government during the Cold War period. The bolt-shaped underground structure has 15 floors accommodating various amenities at different levels and can protect against nuclear bombs 100 times more powerful than the Nagasaki bomb. The 201-foot deep doomsday bunker has several luxuries, such as indoor dog walk, a shooting range, of course it's an American, it has to have a shooting range, a rock climbing wall, an indoor pool, a water park, a library, a theater, bar, fitness center, first aid facility, and a command center to keep the users active. Power backups and water storage required to sustain for 5 years are maintained continuously. Organic hydraulic plants are grown under artificial light to keep the users healthy physically and psychologically. LED lights are used throughout the units to match the effects of daylight. So what happens when all those bulbs burn out or something, you know? So let's see. Do I click on this and it gets bigger? No, it just goes to that. Let's go back. So let's see, this is not very big, so yeah. So this part down here, let's see if I can see. Larry's Hall Survival Condo Facility built within a former blah, blah, blah. Yes, we already know that. Has more than 54,000 square feet of protected space designed to sustain 75 people for more than 5 years. So what happens when those people start having babies? Like, where do you go in that to get away from the crying babies? That's what I want to know. So full floor units, half floor units. Like, who, go away. Those little stupid pop-ups. So this is good for 5 years. So whatever apocalypse happens has to be resolved in 5 years. And that when you come out of this bunker, everything is going to be good and people won't instantly kill you. Is that the idea? That after 5 years, whatever apocalypse happened, the world is now back and organized and your wealth and money is going to mean something? That wealth and money, same thing. Wealth and power will mean something after 5 years of an apocalypse? That you get yourself out of this, and oh, we can now replace all the light bulbs that burned out and the furniture and stuff, and yeah. Like all these dreams of these underground bunkers, like where do you think, how long do you think the apocalypse is going to last? Like you're making these over timed apocalypses, but you know, if it's a nuclear winter or asteroid impact or things of that sort, you're looking at a lot longer than 5 years. Okay, remember what I said about the whole special interest and physical geography type stuff, natural disaster type stuff. If an asteroid hits, then it's going to last longer than that because it's not just it's like the year without a summer type thing with the volcano that erupted. It leads to another thing and another thing and another thing and another thing because you have people starving because they can't get the crops and stuff that year, and then you have more pests, disease outbreaks, collapses of society and stuff like that. So you think you're just going to emerge from this screw bunker here and think everything is going to be okay? But this one is close to home for me, which I just kind of want to read a little bit. This is not a luxury bunker, but somebody's passion. Somebody who was doing this more like a hobby. Bruce Beach has always planned to be around for the end of the Bruce Beach has always planned to be around for the end of the world because he was going to start the new one from the safety of his sprawling underground bunker. This wispy-bearded inventor spent half his life preparing for the post-apocalyptic no from his home in Horning Mill, a tiny community outside of Orangeville, Ontario. I hear there's tours of this and I really want to go. He buried 42 school buses in the 1980s and linked them together in the world's largest private fallout shelter. The Ark 2. Then he recruited friends, family, and fellow survivalists to his cause, assembled plans for restarting society after the nukes hit, and began developing a universal language that would supposedly unite humanity through common tongue. He did all of this under the assumption that the world would end soon and that he'd be around to start a new one. But he died. Let's see.
Okay, well, we actually have special locks here. This lock right here, put on here, is called a dynamite-proof lock. You can't get cutters in there or something like that. This is for where you're storing dynamite. Not that we're storing any dynamite, but doesn't make any difference. People can always get in.
See, I just find this is so cute and quaint that he would do this. But let's skip ahead some.
Fallout shelter. Radiation only travels in a straight line, so any radiation coming in the door that we came in would go right on that way, but we're going to go that way. And any radiation that was coming from this way, there's a big barrier of earth, if you noticed, outside that way, and that's considered completely adequate. Just of earth, you wouldn't need the concrete. Into the
This is not a place I would want to be spending, I would like a tour of it. This is not a place I'd want to spend any extended time in. But I just love that this is basically like a hobby of his that he did this. And Abernathy, come on. Go on, scooch. And that he made this, just for this idea of the end of the world.
And the decontamination shower, decontamination table, decontamination tub. So we can put small children in there and shower them off here. I should be able to just take that off.
That does not look like a pleasant place at all. This is what you see in those post-apocalyptic movies of people who had to scramble to find somewhere safe to go. This is just, I would not want to live there, but it's so interesting.
Alike. And so what we do is there are 24 bunks.
So where's the ventilation when you're on all of that bunker food and you get the what happens when you get clogged up toilets there?
You replace the rings, but the diesel generator self runs.
Yeah, just super interesting. Abernathy is being very active on my lap, moving all over and trying to chew on the cord. Yeah, I don't need to read through all of this, but it's so fascinating that somebody would do this out of this is a private person. I don't think he was rich or anything, but he just made this into a hobby. I guess some people have train sets and he has 42 school buses that he buried underground. I can link this article below too because it's a bit long and I don't want to read the whole thing, but I find this sort of thing super fascinating because I love movies kind of based on this. Like I said, there's a movie called The Divide. Let's see if I can find it quickly on here. Is that it? Yeah. This movie here, really intense movie though, if you watch it. It's but it has a survival bunker in the bottom that they get into and stuff, and really, really intense movie. And it's more realistic on human nature as to what would happen in these things because they build these bunkers with oh yeah, we're going to escape there and everything is going to be fine and we'll wait. This movie. Not one to watch if you want to be in a good mood. Let's close that. But yeah, they leave out the human element because they're oh yeah, it's going to be so fine and orderly and we're all going to get along and sing kumbaya. We're down in this area with shrinking resources and stuff, and it's no. And one thing goes wrong and crises have to be taken care of, and yeah, just the power plays at hand, the control over the limited resources, and if something happens and a certain amount of the food spoils or something of that sort, and suddenly you're down resources and you have way too many people in there than you can support. Like there's so much that can happen that I find all of it fascinating. I love like post-apocalyptic type movies and stuff, but let's maybe move into less grim stuff. This I just thought was nice. And Derek Guy on Twitter added a little bit of nice commentary to this, but so Culture Critic just has the world's most beautiful towns and cities at Christmas, a thread, and he says, interesting how this is trending on conservative Twitter, but every photo shows a dense urban planning, high walkability, and low number of cars. Basically a 15-minute city. Yeah, conservatives don't clue into much, but I just thought these are very pretty pictures of Christmas time stuff. Things that I used to like there'd be parks and stuff in my area that I used to love walking around in around Christmas and going to see the lights, and it's bugging me how this is off a bit. You can see a white line at the top of that because it's not on screen perfectly, and that bugs me, so I'll fix it later though. This one, Quebec City, Canada. That to me is just beautiful because I love snow. I love the winter. And just seeing a pathway like that, oh my God, I would love to be walking down that right now. Like, just love it. I love the Christmas lights and stuff of that sort and just seeing all the pretty. Like, this is the type of stuff around Christmas that I love. Or I used to anyway. Um, yeah, I love the colors and the sparkles and all that sort of stuff. And there's a lot of Germany in this list too. Well, this is Estonia. Look at all that pretty white snow and the lights and the way it reflects and the architecture and the buildings. I do love this. Like the idea of living in a community like this where everything is within walking distance. It's one of the things I really appreciated about Toronto when I lived there. Just in some areas, how you would have markets and all these little things nearby each other, and you didn't have to go far for anything. And there was all these different unique corners of the world within one city that you could go visit. I miss the snow. We haven't really had any good snowfall here yet. Like we've had a couple dustings of snow, but nothing where you look out and it's like, wow, we actually need to shovel. Not yet. I'm hoping to see snow. I like snow. But I also like how magical and creative people get with decorating around Christmas. And even though I'm not religious, I love some of these old churches and just, again, like all the architecture and the thought that goes into them. And I love exploring buildings. Urban splunking would be really fun. I'd love to do that. I love to go through old hallways and just, see history and all that sort of stuff. And it's just, we don't build things like this anymore that are unique and interesting. It's all cookie cutter stuff. It's so pretty. It's like a waterfall cake. It's a cake. Yeah, it's a cake. That's so nice. Yeah, I've been to Toronto a few times. Niagara Falls has used to have, I don't know if they still do, but Niagara Falls has really beautiful like Christmas light displays, and then they would light up the waterfall with different colors around this time of year too, which was always so nice. Going to Niagara Falls in the winter is really something beautiful. When it's snowing, there's ice going over the falls and stuff like that. Hmm. Just beautiful places and locations and stuff. How many were there of these again? I don't know. I don't want to spend too much time doing this, but just beautiful, beautiful, beautiful areas. Yeah, to me, there's just always something magical about snowfall too, when you see the flakes falling down, and I just love, yeah, I just love watching snowfall. And then sometimes you can even hear it, like just a soft, you know, it's a very subtle sound when the flakes are big enough and it's quiet enough. And it's usually quiet enough because like all the animals and stuff and less traffic. So there's a lot less background noise around winter. So sometimes you can just hear a subtle, because you can hear rainfall, but you can also sometimes hear the snowfall. And it's just, yeah, I love it. Love standing outside in the snow, having it fall on my face, watching an individual flake as it twirls through the air. Um, right, I was going to maybe show the Jill Biden video without sound. Let's go here. See if I can find it. Oh, no, it's not. Did I miss it? Yeah, it looked like everyone in that video was having so much fun dancing. Oops. Oh, darn it. I wasn't listening to that. Hopefully it's not music that's going to get me in trouble. Oh, here it is. Music. There we go. Even though I would, here we go. I would love to be able to hear this one, but I'm worried about the music and having it copyright issues because the tapping, the shoe tap, so much fun. But you can go to Jill Biden on Twitter to see this. But the colors, the background, the props, the music, and again, they look like they're having such a fun time. And yet the right is getting so incensed about it. Like, oh no, it's a black woman dancing. Oh no, horror, horror. But like the right is just getting so mad at people having fun, you know? Like, you never see them having this much fun on the right. When they have any sort of their parties and stuff like that, you don't see people smiling and playing about and just expressing themselves through color and movement. And, you don't get to see that on the right. They always look so miserable. Like, what's not to love about this? It's just so beautiful, and their dancing is amazing. And I really wish that I could have the audio on again, because to me, the tapping, it's really soothing, the tap dancing. I actually have a pair of tap shoes. I found them in Value Village once when I was looking for black shoes, and I found these black shoes that fit me exactly. And it turns out they were tap shoes. And I'm like, oh my God, they're tap shoes. And so now I took tap when I was younger, a kid. I took a bunch of different dancing classes. And so I want to like go on YouTube and see if I can learn how to do tap dance again. Because the clickety clack of it it's an auditory thing that I really enjoy. But yeah, just love the costumes. They all seem to be having a great time. The fact that they're featured by Jill Biden is probably really great. You know, like just to be part of this, like to be part of a dance ensemble. I remember that you get into the zone and the groove of working together as a team, and it's again just so much fun. But no, the right looks at this and it's like, the horror, look at this. They're having so much fun. The right just doesn't know how to have a good time. That's all. They're just so miserable wanting to control everyone else. But like, look at that fun, sparkly hat and outfit and everything. Just wonderful. Um, Hello, Lanier. Abernathy's still on my lap, and Lanier's like, well, I need to get in on that too. So I think that's it. We'll just check in some chat, and then we'll call it a night, because I've actually been here a hell of a lot longer than I thought it would be. I keep on saying, oh yeah, I want to keep these around 2 hours. Oops. Make sure there's no audio going on that shouldn't be on. Okay. So scrolling up, scrolling up, scrolling up. So, okay, I got that super chat from My Dogs Are Goth. Again, thank you so much. Atticus Among Us, thank you, Sandy, for streaming tonight and all that you do. Well, thank you for coming out. I really appreciate it. One of these days, I'm going to have a live stream with like 50 people watch. We'll get there. We'll get there. So life, oh my God, hiccups won't go away. That is one of the fears that I used to have about performing on stage and stuff, is that I would get the hiccups right before I was supposed to go on stage. Because if my mouth is shut when I have a hiccup, it's noticeable, but it isn't that big of a deal. But if my mouth is open when I hiccup, it's like a sound blast that just kind of goes out and will ricochet against any wall and everything, and it's so loud. And all I can imagine is that I'm trying to do like a theater production, and I open my mouth and just this relchy loud hiccup explodes from my mouth. And I'm just like, that has always been a fear of mine. Like here, I could hide it a little bit, at least, you know, mute my thing. But sometimes, yeah, they can get painful if they don't go away. And I haven't found they just go away. I don't know anything I do that works to get rid of them. They just eventually go away. But yeah, for me, if they last, you know, even a little bit long, they start to get painful. Atticus and Mama's Soul Life, drink water upside down. Sounds strange, but it works. Yes, waterboard yourself. Get rid of the hiccups every time. Looney Tunes 9000, hello. So I will be streaming tomorrow, and it's going to be a casual, you know, I'm not having any news planned. It's just basically, again, for people who don't want to be alone tomorrow, who might be alone. And I'll try to think of some fun things to talk about. Again, I'm not 100% sure. It depends on how I feel after visiting family, if it's going to be a call-in show or not. But I should be able to find some things to ramble on about that are semi-entertaining. Oh, right. I wanted to show... Do you know what? I'll do that tomorrow then. Tune in tomorrow and we'll watch some Ryan George videos together of his Christmas skits that I absolutely love, and they're so much fun. Ryan George on YouTube. If you need a laugh, go to that and watch his skits. He's brilliant. He's so funny. And he's close enough too that I'm like, if I got his poster and drove to like Quebec, would he sign it for me? Which would be weird. It would mean that I would have to find out where he lives, and then that's just kind of stalky and not worth the signature. Sorry, Sandy, I was busy moving stuff back into my home for the past 2 days. I went to a Christmas party. I'll be moving back home day by day after 4.5 months. Looney Tunes 9000. No, no worries. I'm just glad you could come out. Let's see. Depressed Progressive, so happy to catch you live. Well, I'm glad you could come out. Let's see. Morbius Dragon, I've been hearing sirens for the past few hours. Things are getting crazy around where I live tonight. There was one street I lived on, it was like a main street, and so sirens, fire trucks, ambulances at any given time. But then every now and then I'd be woken up by a parade. I didn't know that was happening. And being woken up by like bagpipes walking down your street, quite the thing. Soul Life's hiccup has gone away long enough for us to all talk about it right now, for them to come back. Hello, Adrian. Great to have you out too. Soul Life, you won't be alone tomorrow. I'll be here with you. Oh, don't say that. Don't say nobody loves me. You're a POS. You are not a point of sales. Just going to put it out there. You are not a point of sales. I appreciate everyone who comes out. Let's see. Scrolling back up. Did I miss any? No, I got all the super chats from people. Okay. Scrolling back up to see if there's anything I need to respond to. Okay, doke. Yeah. Okay. So tomorrow, like I said, I will be doing a live stream, casual chat and chill. And it can start anywhere between 4 and 7. I have no idea when it's going to start. No set time, possible call-in show. So we'll see how it goes. I might be very low energy depending again how it goes with my family. I don't know. Let's see. So let's start winding down. Please go check out my art. Oh yeah. So I put out the draw for the portrait of a pet or person. Let's see. I think only one person has replied to it so far. Which means that person might be getting a portrait. Yeah, we'll see. The cutoff time is midnight tonight to reply to that tweet about the portrait of a pet or person. Sign doodles. Big family? No, very small. And I'm really only going because last minute another family member wasn't going. It's that type of thing. And I generally get along-ish with the family that I'll see tomorrow, but we're very different people. Let's see. Also, I'm still working on paying off Frodo's vet bills from earlier. These bills here. Still about $600 shy of that. And you know, if I get more than that, it would help a lot because I haven't put out a call to help with the other vet bills that I've been getting with Lanier and Abernathy both getting the virus and cold. But because I was able to get them into the not-for-profit vet, the cost was a lot less. So I'm just going to take care of that the best I can. But I could really use help finishing to pay off Frodo's vet bills. He's eating regularly, which is just, you know, cross my fingers that he keeps that up. Lanier did that to me right before stream. This sliced my wrist open. So I wasn't able to wear my pretty bracelet that I was planning on wearing, that I probably would have taken off at some point because it's too big and clanky. Yeah, so to help with Frodo's vet bills, there's a PayPal link in the description box, as well as if you're Canadian, you can do an e-transfer to SandeeLovas@gmail.com. Every little bit helps. Like, I really appreciate really anything people can do, even if it's just liking and sharing the stream to get my name out there. Because I'm hoping to make more regular newsy, Canadian newsy type streams that, you know, people actually look forward to and want to come out to and stuff. I'm still finding my groove. Let's put it that way. Still finding my groove. And I have my crunchy curls in right now, so I'm super wanting to just play with my hair. Let's see. I'm on these social medias over there. I'm on one more than the others. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Twitter all the time still. If you can, please become a patron. Linked in the description box below. Every little bit helps. Yeah, I think tomorrow I'll talk about some of my goals for next year and stuff. About, you know, how one of them is between my art and my YouTube to just make enough that I can get by from that. That is a goal. That is a dream. Thank you to all the mods for holding things down. I hope that people, you know, are good in the chat and treat each other well. Ross Carson, you are very calming. I appreciate that. Well, thank you. Cyan Doodles, I'm alone. My family lives in California. Son lives with his dad. Well, come out tomorrow. Like I said, I'll be starting around 4 to 7 because I've spent many Christmases absolutely alone and isolated. So I know the feeling. I know the feeling a lot. But you don't have to be alone tomorrow. I'll be on at some point. You know, barring anything major happening like power outage, tech completely destroyed or something of that sort. You know, making it impossible for me to stream. Something along those lines, I won't be here, but any other thing, I will be here. And so people don't have to be alone. And we'll watch some Ryan George Christmas, some of his Christmas videos that are so much fun. I think we should be allowed to get away with it. His videos get millions of views, so it's not like I'm stealing his content or anything. And I see other people do react videos to his content, so we should be allowed to watch some. And it'd be a really fun way to spend some time on Christmas. And we can talk about what makes a Christmas movie if you want. I don't know. It depends. It might not even get all that Christmassy. I have a story I want to tell about one time when I was trying to call into the Majority Report and something really funny that happened. So there's that to tune in tomorrow for. And yeah, we'll see how it goes. But yeah, again, thank you to the mods. I hope someday I'll be able to pay it forward, like I'm doing with the portrait. Yeah, like I said, still have about $600 to go to pay off Frodo's vet bills. And yeah, every little bit helps. So I'll eventually get there. Yeah, but oh my gosh, it's like 10 o'clock. Okay, I need to go because I have to actually set my alarm for tomorrow. Oh God, I hate waking up to an alarm. I got a kitty cat on my lap again. Okay, gotta get better at this whole unwinding thing. But I keep on getting distracted by chat and whatnot. But thank you everyone for coming out again. Really appreciate it. And I baked cookies today that I'm taking tomorrow because I don't have money to get gifts and stuff for my nephews and nibblings. But I bake peanut butter oatmeal chocolate chip cookies. It's the oatmeal mix, but then I add peanut butter and chocolate chips to it, and they are so good. They are so good. It's like the only thing I can bake. So if I don't see anyone tomorrow and you celebrate Christmas, then I hope you have a wonderful Christmas. If you don't celebrate Christmas, I hope you have a fantastic Monday. And yeah, we'll hopefully I'll see you tomorrow. Okay? Okay, I gotta get better at this. So let's say goodbye, Lanier. Say goodbye. Okay. Salut, à la prochaine. Thank you for watching and stay tuned. I'm Sandy, wishing your tomorrow is better than your today.